federal government has summoned vice-chancellors as well as pro-chancellors and chairmen of governing councils of federal universities to a meeting. The meeting is scheduled to hold on September the 6th this year. It was convened in a letter by the National Universities Commission as part of efforts to resolve the lingering industrial dispute. The NUC in that letter said it had become needed for the governing councils and the management of the universities to be briefed on the decisions and actions taken by the federal government so far to allow for a well-coordinated review of the situation. Now, this recent development has generated reactions from several quarters over the effect on the nation's education sector. We have more in this report.
The inability of the federal government and ASUU to reach a common agreement after 6 months of a nationwide strike is not viewed kindly by majority of Nigerians. The National Executive Council of the Union had, after an emergency meeting in Abuja in a statement, announced an indefinite extension to its strike. The union had described its engagement with the federal government over the last 5.5 years as filled with a lot of deceits at the highest levels, as it found itself a fruitless and unending negotiation. For the Arawa transformational leaders, the indefinite strike will not only impact negatively on the education system, but will lead to more youth being forced into banditry, especially those in the north. They call on the federal government to reverse its no work, no pay sanction and get the union back on the negotiation table in the interest of the nation. Marvelous Emmanuel is a 300-level student of University of Ilori. If not for the strike, she would have graduated by next month. But here she is, still hanging around, and she's not happy at the latest stand of ASUU. ASUU commenced its ongoing strike on February 14, 2022, after the federal government refused to meet some of its demands, including the release of revitalization funds for universities, renegotiation of 2009 agreements, release of earned allowance for university lecturers, and deployment of UTAS payments platform.
Joining us now to x-ray this issue, talking about the strike by the university lecturers and the possible solutions to the impasse between government and ASUU, is a journalist, a columnist, and renowned editor with more than 30 years of experience. Fumi Komalafe, it's good to have you join us again. Welcome to TVC Breakfast. So this is a terrain that you're very much at home with. But what is the value? How would you, weigh the value of the strike since February the 14th?
I'm not sure what value it has. However, let me say that as far back as 1986, and I covered that strike, ASUU has always had one issue or the other. First, it started with funding. What percentage should go to funding of education? Now, this is the democracy. Maybe that's why we're having the government call meetings. Babangida actually made a decree to proscribe ASUU in 1986. Now, from 1986 till now, I'm not sure there's any government that has had its full term without an ASUU strike. Okay? But again, we must say that, we must ask, what provokes a strike? Definitely there are issues, issues of conflict, workplace conflict. Now, and this is not peculiar to Nigeria, it happens all over the world. But to embark on an indefinite strike, what does that mean? Does it mean that you will never work again? Now, collective bargaining is give and take, okay? Only a bad negotiator will lead workers to say, I'm going to negotiate for you, I'm coming back with 100% of your demands. That would be a leader that is not sincere. Because the employer has rights too. In the ILO tripartisan, it is collective bargaining, give and take. And when there are issues that are unresolved, there's also called deferred negotiation, okay? And that's why they say you don't negotiate under duress. To go on an indefinite strike means you don't want to get to the table again to discuss. And if you don't discuss, how will the issues be resolved? At this point that we are, it is important for everybody, let it be put in public domain. What are the issues? What is it that government has given? What is it that government has not given? I've been following this story, and I watched the president of ASUU saying that the federal government has said XYZ billions has been allocated. How do we see it? And how will you feel it? How will you earn it if you are not in the workplace? Because we must ask questions. ASUU has issues, yes. One of the gains of the ASUU strike, if I must say, is third fund, okay? An ASUU strike led to the creation of third fund. But is ASUU itself part of it? Are they monitoring? To whom are they reporting? Now, when you go on an indefinite strike, first I ask, don't they miss their students? Because if you are passionate about what you are doing, I mean, I can't imagine a journalist saying, I don't miss the newsroom. Then you are not a journalist. If you don't miss the newsroom, you stay away from the newsroom, then where are you? You are like a fish out of water. Don't they miss their students? That's one answer. Then we look at it. I heard him say, oh, teaching is one aspect, research is another thing, and then community work. Yes, you are doing research for your own progress. Yes, you may use an outcome of your research to teach, but it's also what helps to elevate you as a professional. Now, this community service, what is it? What is community service that ASUU members are engaged in? And the idea of no work, no pay, because I think this is where there has been a deadlock now. Let's face it, morally, you are not at work. If you are doing 1/3 of what you are supposed to be doing, or now they say they are doing 2/3, they say they are doing research, they are doing community work, produce evidence. That's one. Two, if you say that you are staying off work, yes, strikes are provoked, but there must be a point where you get to sit down and negotiate. Now, the rule of no work, no pay is not peculiar to Nigeria. And I challenge Nigerian trade unions. In all my years of experience, where is the strike fund? Because when you go on strike, people go on strike in Britain, okay? They don't go for this long. Because the union knows that it is at a cost to the union also. No Nigerian trade union has a strike fund. None.
One thing that has bothered me about all of this is that we don't know the details of these so-called negotiations. Where was government before the negotiations? Where was ASUU before negotiations? What has ASUU considered during the negotiations? What has government considered during the negotiations? If we don't know this, then we don't have a sense of what is going on.
That's why I say it should be put in public domain. I know that part of it is the implementation of the 209 agreement.
Yes.
A government was in power at that time.
Yes.
Now, government may have made its own mistakes. Because if you send people who are not capable or who don't have the mandate, to negotiate, and they negotiated wrongly, but this is not the first time it's happening in industrial relations, you go back to the table and discuss. Explain your limitations. And then it's give and take, okay? Explain why can't we do this? This is how far we can go. This is how far we cannot go. Then you begin to bargain. I remember an instance when President Obasanjo, I'm talking of democratically elected Obasanjo now, during the minimum wage strike, ILO commended him for consultation. They invited him to come and talk at the ILO for consultation that they negotiated and was successful. But Labour then, under Oshiomhole, put a clause that every 5 years, you review that. And Obasanjo said, no, I manage this economy. You don't manage the economy. I manage it. And there are other interests. When we get to 5 years, we will go back to the negotiating table and then discuss what is feasible and what is not feasible. Let's not lose sight of the fact that the employer has rights too. And I ask in this case, who is the employer? Is it the Federal Ministry of Education or the individual universities? Who signed individual letters of appointment for these lecturers? Okay?
Is it not the council?
If it is the council, then the negotiation will be at that level. It's not the Ministry of Labour. Ngige is a mediator.
Mediator.
He's
even an ambassador.
He's a conciliator. Yeah. He's a mediator when they are at dispute.
So you believe that is also going to be another issue that we should look. Who employed?
Who is the employer
of the lecturers?
Because it's employer-employee. Who is the employer? Who is the employee? Okay, so there are certain things that we need to know. And this strike, to whose benefit? If you say that when you resume, you're going to go back to teach, you and I know it can't be the same. The time, will you bring back that time? What about students that have gone into depression? What about the girl that was killed in Ogbomoso? Will you bring that life back?
That's what,
let's be realistic.
Is it Thoreau who said, you can't kill time without injuring eternity. That's what he said. And I had this debate yesterday over the issue of employer-employee and the role of council and whether the universities are supposed to be run as autonomy. Exactly. There was this snag that held me back a little. It's just the issue of say, okay, if the universities say, okay, they want to become self-sustaining, they charge the fees as they want, and they run the universities the way they want as the law permits them, then somebody raised an issue and said, out of TSA, that if they collect money, will it not go back to TSA and the government will be controlling it? What's your response to that?
Well, they're still within a country, okay? So you cannot be an island completely away from. Do they not work on the road? We are talking of tax. Do they not drive cars on the roads? There are other things that taxes are used for. No one is saying education is not important. Education is very important. But that's not all there is. And I ask, do they have feelings for the students? Now, this strike is about 6 months old or more, since February. Now, the age of that student, will you take it back? You can't. There are some things that you just can't realize. And the way we are going, Sam, let me make this point before I forget. The way ASUU is going, there are options. It's going to end. It's either the strike will break itself, and that's beginning to happen with some state universities pulling out, and the association or union will destroy itself.
Even there's a directive now. There's a directive now for VCs of all federal institutions to come to a meeting. That of course may have some implications.
If the strike breaks itself, then the union is done forever. They will be unable to call another strike again. And have we forgotten also that there are couples that are lecturers? How do they feed? You have to go back to the negotiation table. The issues, NASU was also on strike, SAN was also on strike. They have suspended. They have given 3 months to see whether the government will, comply with the agreement reached. The ball is now in the court of the government. Let us see whether they will live up to the agreement that has been signed.
But it's also bothering me. Why, if ASUU, with all their articulateness, have not been able to come out to give us blow-by-blow account of their conversation with government? Why, too, has government not come out to say, well, this is where we have gone to? Though I heard the minister herself said, we've increased the professor's salary by 35% and others by, I think, 27% and so on, and what is left is is backlog of salary and reconciliation of UTAs and IPs and all of that. At least that's what they communicated. That itself does not even give us detail about what is going on. And I understand that ASUU has denied that they gave any such concessions. And nobody knows what is going on. The ASUU man said they didn't even meet with the minister. And the minister said he met with them. So what is going on? Like, we need to get to the bottom of all of this.
Was it a secret meeting? If a meeting was held, people would know that a meeting. I agree with that, and that's why I said these issues should be put in public domain.
Yeah.
Let us know this is the area of agreement, this is the area of disagreement. Even where there is disagreement, even if you go to an industrial court, the verdict will be returned to status quo for negotiation to continue. You cannot negotiate under duress, okay? So when you are out, when you are on strike, and you are ASUU, well, the president says they are willing to further discuss or negotiate. But I think the core issue here is the no work, no pay issue.
And I'm talking about that no work, no pay policy. Professor Sodeke had said it would be wrong for the federal government, because that was the report that, circulated about last week or 2 weeks ago, that all the issues had been resolved except for the naughty one of no work, no pay. But Sodeke and his team are saying that that is not the case. The IPS-UTAS issue is not resolved. The financing, the refurbishment of the university structure has not been resolved. And of course, the issue of no work, no pay, like you also alluded to, that they've been coming to the classroom. They've been coming to work. They've been coming to their offices, but not going to the classrooms. The back and forth now will get us nowhere. But on the issue of this VC meeting for September the 6th now, even the lecturers themselves say they are also suspicious of the moves of some VCs to undermine the struggle. After all, they say you are beneficiaries of the TED Fund, the yearly grants now from TED Fund. So I'm looking at that meeting September the 6th. Would it get us anywhere? Do you see it as, bringing some form of reprieve for the sake of the students?
Well, maybe in some universities it will. But with ASUU saying that it's on indefinite strike, I don't see what will come out of that meeting to the benefit of students. And let's not forget that people's lives are involved here. Youths, the future leaders of this country, or today's leaders as they now call themselves, they are held, they are caged because two elephants are fighting. Let the government, ASUU has denied that the government has not told the whole truth. Okay, you tell us your own side. Let the government also tell its own side. There must be somebody to mediate now. And that is where the Ministry of Labour comes in. And the Ministry of Labour has been playing that role. But again, it would appear that the union does not trust the Ministry of Labour. Again, you ask, is it not the same university system? Is it not in the same university system that you have NASU, that you have SANU? It's the same system.
What about the committee, the Professor Briggs, committee? Earlier, there were several other committees. We understand that the report had been, sent to the federal government, increasing or recommending that salaries be increased, across, was it 20% or thereabout, and all that. Why are we having a limbo? If the government had enabled the creation of a panel, why doesn't it get us anywhere?
That's the Nigerian factor for you. There are so many reports that have turned brown, white papers that have turned brown on the shelves in government offices. On the side of government, that is a bit of irresponsibility. Because if you set up a panel, there's a report, there must be what is called a white paper. A white paper, what we agree, because it's not everything that the panel has reported that the government will adopt hook, line, and sinker. You will just say, this is a white report, this is what you agree with, this is what you disagree with the union, it should be referred to as deferred negotiation. And then you can continue. You need, when you go on an indefinite strike, is it that you will never talk again? Is it that you will never return to the classroom? I mean, strikes happen everywhere, except you are calling for a revolution. I'm sorry to say this. Except you are calling for a revolution.
There was an issue of strike in the UK about the firefighters, I think it was firefighters, and they interviewed some of those people who were having demands, and they said, do you want to strike? I said, you see, and the answer was that, well, I would like to strike, but you know, I'm not in this job because of myself alone, because there are people there we have responsibility to. What if there is a disaster when we are on strike? We will have missed some of the purpose of this assignment that we have for this. That we have. We want our salaries increased, but we also want our people to be safe. So they have that moral compunction. So we are trying to see that in this ASUU government. But it is not just ASUU alone, it's also the government. Because the final analysis, the government should be able to say, to show its capacity, not only to bring things to an end, right, but to be able to persuade. Because the purpose of government is not only to force, but also to persuade, to exercise the benefits of wisdom to the society. That the government, that the matter is in this state, is also a failure of government to be able to really ratchet up the necessary goodwill, power, resources at the center to do so. So we see a situation where the intellectuals are failing and the executive, they are also failing. And in final analysis, you have to go to the government and say, well, you are in charge, and you are supposed to get these things done at this time. But my other issue is, if the universities want to exercise the power of autonomy, why are they afraid? Why do they not have the courage of their own privilege? Let me put it there. Why can't they exercise the courage of their own privilege? Why can't they find sources of making money? Why can't an IFE say, for instance, okay, if the government cannot give me money, if you want to come to IFE, pay this amount of money as school fees, because we cannot see you in those terrible hostels the way they are. We do not want a situation where our labs cannot do the kind of research we want, and so on. If you cannot, you cannot pay it, then don't come to our school. This is the way we want to run it. We want to pay our computer science professors 2.5 million every month, and we want to make sure that this is our standard to do so. And you can get agreements and say this is the way to go. Government subvention can only go so far. And if you are going to rely on that, you can't go so. We saw this man who came here, Saad Tuko, Saad, who said this was the system he did. You don't do it by coercion, but you do it by a kind of collaborative, collaborative thinking with ASUU, with students, and saying that, is this the kind of university we want to build, or is this going to be a university dependent, like a child looking for his feeding bottle?
That's why I said, over the years, successive governments have failed. Don't forget that I started by saying, since 1986, I don't know 1 year that has been ASUU strike-free. Governments have failed over the years. Unfortunately, the way this strike is going, ASUU is playing into the hands of politicians. And everyone is beginning to campaign, I will end ASUU strike, I will end ASUU strike. 99% of these people who are now campaigning saying they will end ASUU strike have been in government at one level or the other. They didn't end it then. No. It's now they want to end it. And it is becoming a campaign issue.
Tuko said the other day that ASUU keeps saying, you are spending money, you are accusing federal government, you are wasting money on this. There's a corrupt accountant general who spent 80 billion and so. I said, why are you concerning yourself with that? Don't you look at your own system and see how you can make your own money?
Yeah, I saw him. Yeah. And he made a lot of sense.
But eventually that's the future, or rather it's even the now, because we are seeing universities abroad also, coming up more and more with this bold means of generating the needed fund, because indeed the monies from the government, even when they come regularly, will never be enough.
Even now, they are generating funds now. There are some universities where you even park your car, you must pay. Just as simple as you are a visitor, you have come to see your child, you pay. Then, is that not fun? That's another thing. Who is managing? Who is auditing those funds?
Even the
Is
acceptance
it also
fees.
because ASUU is rooted in a Marxist socialist mantra, which requires it to depend on state rather than become enterprise-oriented? Isn't that part of the mindset that is working on ASUU? No, I'm just asking because that is where ASUU has always been. Marxist socialist, and therefore it is state that has to provide, you know?
I'm laughing because I know some of your friends will ask for your head after this.
No. I think with my friends, I know how to handle them.
On a serious note, I agree with you. On a serious note, I agree with you. That's part of the problem. But even Soviet Union has shifted now. Yeah. Even China. The world cannot remain at a stage.
Gorbachev just died because he wanted to shake the system.
So human beings, life is about changes itself. So even the political systems are changing. You are right. Honestly, you are right. And that's why you are having a group of lecturers saying, we don't want to belong to ASUU again. And don't forget that a trade union is not, you don't belong to a trade union by compulsion, like Tuko said. It's voluntary. And that's part of the decree that Babangida made at that time. And up to today, trade union
I made the comment yesterday that the
voluntary.
ASUU people are part of the people calling for restructuring, saying that the center is too heavy. And in their own check-off system, they say 40% to the state, 60% to the center. Which is just like
stronger.
So the center is now stronger. So ASUU itself is contradicting its own philosophy of federalism.
All right. ASUU should pay strike fund. We should go and pay those lecturers on strike.
Right.
Where is the strike fund?
All right, so there's so many issues now. We've run out of time. We're already hitting the top of the hour, so we can enable some more discussions from the Komalafe. Thanks for your time with us again on TVC Breakfast. We sure hope for long-term, short-term, and you know the overall revamp of the education university structure in Nigeria. Many thanks again for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to be with you.